So I wanted to take the time today to rejoice, maybe, okay. I wanted to take the time today to rejoice at the opportunity to live in community, and to offer one perspective about why you might want to live in community. I think for the participants of EML, especially in discussion groups, we've been just starting to get a taste of the really rich environment that it is when we get to share so closely from other practitioners, hearing how they're working with the Dharma in their own lives, really living it. And when I was first considering my monastic aspirations, I knew quite clearly that I wanted to live in community with others, to have that support and to really be held in the precepts and in my practice, learning and sharing with others, and to have that ongoing inspiration that I think we can provide each other. And from living here over the last year and a half, I've been able to see that living in community, it just provides beautiful examples of what we can become. So from being one of the youngest members here, I get to look at others and see very wonderful qualities that are embodied in other living beings, and see this is the fruit of their practice. And be able to then see this, if I work in the same way and practice the teachings that they're receiving, this is an example of what I can become. And that is a wonderful way that when I'm having difficulties or I'm unsure of what to do in my practice, I can, just by observing others, see an example of where to go forward. But then there's also the opportunity to reach out to many different people and say, I'm struggling with this, can you help me? And the willingness of this community to support each other, I've just found so rich, and so I've seen myself grow because of that, and there's deep gratitude for that. And I think part of this relates back to the adage of seeing is believing. So when I can see, like I said, the virtuous qualities embodied in others, it deepens my refuge, because I get to see that it's possible. And another aspect, one of the reasons why I find it so rich to live in community, is the ability to receive feedback, whether it's invited or not. And one of the things I found particularly valuable is be able to see more deeply and clearly how I affect others. And it's just one of the first things when I began my Anagarika period here. I was often leaving my jacket on the back of my chair. And there's nothing inherently wrong with leaving my jacket on the back of the chair. But I received feedback that this is a community environment, and we try and keep things really nice and tidy. So there's racks over there. So just put it over there, and it creates a more nice space to live in together, and not to leave books around places and things. But I've been living on my own. I can put things wherever I want. But it was just a nice small point to learn of, like, I affect others, how I move in this space, how I use shared spaces and everything. And it was just really valuable to gain another level of awareness of our interdependence, and that I'm an agent and I have effects on others. And also to learn what harmony really means, and to reflect on what does it mean to live in harmony, and that it doesn't come due to lack of causes and conditions, and that I must actively cultivate the causes for that in myself, and take responsibility for being a contributor to the way that this community lives in harmony. And a lot of that comes back down to working with my self-centered thought. And yeah, that a shift from living on my own to living in community, that it's not all about me, and that my opinion doesn't necessarily matter the most. And that's a beautiful lesson, if not so easy to digest at first, especially with our practice of wanting to exchange self for others, that I can directly start to practice that with how I interact with others here, and put the needs of the general community before my own opinion or preference in how things are done, or what I want to do, or various things like that. Yeah. And I think, coming just from a discussion group about praise and approval, there's a big shift in terms of you're just one of many in a community. There's not a special one. And that's quite a shift from potentially, coming from an only child family, then I was the special one. I was the only one and got lots of attention. But in various ways with how we have work and different experiences, we are seeking to be number one. And there's a lovely shift in just being part of contributing to the bigger picture here, or imagine in various communities, that's really valuable to lessen the ego in that way. And there's a lot of opportunity for rejoicing as well that I find from living in community, just to see how many hands make light work. And the amazing things that we do here are able because of so many different people having different skills, having different interests, and contributing in many different ways. And I think it was maybe in last year's EML where we drew up all the different, or sometime last year, we drew up all the different projects that the people at the Abbey do. And like the whiteboard was just seaming with all the different projects that we have. And it's like, wow, look at what we do, look at what we contribute to the world. And it's not through the efforts of just one person. So it is quite wonderful to see what people coming together can achieve. And to rejoice specifically in others that have skills and interests that I don't have, because I need these things to be done, I want these things to be done, but I don't necessarily want to be the one to do them. And so I'm very happy that other people are wanting to do these things, and I get to benefit from them. I found it quite joyful to listen to the verse that the participants who requested training for this email, one verse that they recited about living in community being a rock tumbler. So, because I am not perfect, I request the members of the community to support me in training my mind, subduing afflictions, and cultivating virtue. And because others are not perfect, I will practice cultivating patience and compassion. All of us are like rocks in a tumbler. Together we will smooth each other's rough edges and polish each other, so that we'll become radiant gems who are wise and joyful, and who work for the benefit of sentient beings. And I've really have found that an inclination towards becoming more wise and joyful from my time here. Just because there's so much great learning to be had from others, seeing others' examples, from seeing my mind in the mirror of the community where I'm growing, where I'm seeing my limits and having to work with those to expand them. And just also the direct experience of being held with so much loving kindness and compassion. It's really beautiful. And there's just so much joy of being part of a community that's aspiring to virtue and to contributing to the welfare of others. So thank you for having me here. And for those considering monasticism, there's so much value in living in community. I highly recommend it.